Hello, good day. I hope you're doing very well. Today, we're going to begin our work with image grading, focusing on the dreamy and enchanting feeling of a girl in the forest. Something you need to pay attention to before we start is that the skin tone is illuminated by yellow light, and you should keep in mind that this will affect our workflow a lot. For example, the yellow highlights present in this area and the yellow areas, those specific regions where the light gently falls on the face and subtly changes the skin tone. Keep in mind that by the end of this process, we'll need to carefully adjust the skin tone just a bit, and throughout the entire process, it will actually undergo quite a few noticeable changes. Alright, I'll start by creating the contrast layer using Alt and P in. For the very first layer in this process, I go to the primary color wheel section and carefully increase the gain setting to a value of 896. Then I gently lift the shadow control up to 128, which is perfectly fine as it is and does not require any further adjustment at this stage. In the next layer, I gently pull the shadow down a bit, and after that I move on to the highlights and bring the shadows a little closer to zero. I also increase the highlights. Then I go to the curves and slightly increase the highlights here as well. In this section there's a gap between 256 and 512. This increase is very important for the highlights themselves. In the last layer I go to the primary layer, bring the midtones and shadows back to 128 so that a white haze appears over the shadows. For the highlights I bring them back to 896 and the sharpness amount is adjusted in the contrast layer. Keep in mind that after we have finished working on all of the layers, and in order to properly finalize and stabilize our work, we can create a new layer after all the existing layers and then carefully adjust them with curves. I pull the shadows down and you can see that the white haze is gone and it gave me a very good contrast. In the next step, I add a bit more saturation to the work in order to enhance the overall appearance. Now if we pay attention, our work is moving towards vector scope, the skin tone and yellowness. It has a warm feel. I add a bit of coolness so that the work gets some green and yellow tones. I increased the blue density from underneath and I was making their saturation brighter. And we remember the yellowness that comes from these insect layers over time. Yellow is dominant, the skin tone is in the yellow range. I move it towards the skin tone, just a little bit. I move on to the next layer. I try to confirm the skin tone again. I still blend it with the skin tone layer. I also check the skin tone. The skin tone is almost right. There's still a bit of cyan in the work. I increase the saturation. I increase the saturation here, trying to see what kind of emotion or feeling I can add to the work, so that our image gets a better feeling. In the shadows, this good feeling would come in the next layer with the effects. The first thing I do is select the head with the qualifier tool, in case you haven't seen it. Now with Face ID, what I'm doing, naturally with the yellow light that's been added, which makes the tone and the light the same, I mask the face. And here we leave it. In one particular part of the work, you can see that blue, yellow, green, and a lot of extra colors have noticeably increased and become more prominent. In this same layer, which we previously cooled down to achieve a more balanced look, I make a subtle adjustment by reducing the saturation of both green and blue just a little bit, making sure not to overdo it. Additionally, I add a bit more to the skin tone, enhancing its warmth and natural appearance. This careful process helps ensure that the overall image still feels more natural and visually pleasing, maintaining a harmonious balance among all the colors present in the composition. I turn off the layer. We can see the difference in these parts. I still reduce the magenta as well, just this much. In the effects layer, I add the beauty effect. I press Alt and drag. In the next layer, I also color the effects. Yellow gives a better feel to our work. In the next one, I go into the lighting effects and apply aperture diffusion to the photo. It creates a different feeling. Let's see which one gives a better vibe. I'll bring it up this much. At the bottom, I control its hand with the tab. I also give it a bit of intensity. For the next effect, I press Alt and P. There's also a kind of zoom blur and direct blur that you can apply to your work, which gives it a mysterious feeling. I increase it gradually, and here, at this point, I carefully reverse the layer and give it just a slight, subtle amount. In the next layer, I try to proceed with caution and control the shadows, bring them back a bit, and here I control the highlights to some extent. In the next layer, using curves, we control the effect we've created. We get a better feeling from it. In the next layer, we try to calibrate the work. Now it can be CM or any image you want. I select blue, increase it, and adjust the densities and saturations. Here, what we've done has now gone outside the skin tone, so we go back. I try to bring the skin tone back to its original state. I move it, the amount of density. I try to bring the yellows closer to the skin tone, and we started with the saturation. This vector is for there, and now I come and apply the beam look. At this point, I take the pipette tool in my hand and use it to move towards the white area in the image, making sure to select the spot that best represents the white balance I want to achieve. Here, by gradually lowering the white balance, I can experience a range of different feelings as the colors in the image begin to shift and the overall mood changes. This process allows me to see how even small adjustments can affect the look and atmosphere, helping me find the balance that matches what I'm aiming for. I choose this. I gently pull the tint a bit more towards a subtle green, and with that our work is done here. Now I carefully do the blending to make sure everything is smooth. And we'll see the result together. Thank you for following along with this tutorial. Have a great day, and thank you so much.